This video is going to talk about the so-called carnivore diet. I want to disprove the carnivore diet with common sense. Now, before I start disproving the carnivore diet, I want to make something very clear. I used to be on a carb-controlled diet. In fact, I was on a carb-controlled diet for like 17 years. What it was when I was 13 years old, I was extremely obese. My cholesterol was out of whack and everything else. I was lucky enough to have a doctor that knew about the ketogenic diet, as was created by Johns Hopkins University to control seizures. He put me on the diet. My numbers, they went back to normal and a healthy normal. And I stayed on a carbohydrate-controlled diet the whole time, even after switching about, I'd say 10 years ago to vegetarianism and eventually veganism. I switched to a carb-controlled vegetarian and vegan diet. Okay, and what happened was I developed GERD. Okay, I don't know if people know what GERD is. I had when the stomach acids come into the throat and mouth. And this was due to my carb-controlled diet, all the oils and things that I had to consume on this diet. So eventually I embraced a 2-to-1 ratio of carbohydrates to fats. I was still counting things like a lunatic. And this was due to research I did that a 2 carbohydrates to 1 protein gram helps to extend life. Okay, that's what we found out, okay, through science. But what happened was I had to cut all the fats out of my diet, all the liberated oils, meaning mayonnaise, olive oil, all that, because it would cause GERD. So I started eating nuts and seeds and what have you. And I felt a whole hell of a lot better. Then I came across a diet called the Starch Solution by Dr. John McDougall, and I started looking into nutritionfacts.org and things like this. And I started realizing that I was doing veganism all wrong through a carb-controlled lifestyle. I was also doing a carb-controlled lifestyle wrong because I shouldn't have been doing a carbohydrate-controlled lifestyle in the first place. And if my doctor knew about, say, the Pritikin diet or other similar diets such as the Starch Solution or the Adventist diet, which is the absolute best, which I came across in my search for longer life, I would have never been put on a ketogenic diet, and I would have never developed GERD, and I never would have had any health concerns related to a carb-controlled lifestyle. Now, like Dr. McDougall points out, the reason a ketogenic diet basically helps you lose weight is because it starves you. That's what it's doing. It's starving you of the glucose that you need to run your body. Now, what I want to point out with this is this so-called Now, I want to also clarify what a plant-based diet is. A plant-based diet does not mean a diet without any animal products, and this is what is very confusing to people. A 100% plant-based diet, which is what I follow for the most part, and I'll get into that, is 100% plant-based. But the Atkins diet, after you follow the phases, the Atkins diet is mostly vegetables, okay? So that's plant-based. The paleo diet is mostly vegetables, so that's plant-based. The Mediterranean diet is mostly vegetables, grains, and fruit, so that's plant-based. So my point is being a plant-based diet, a true Paleolithic diet is plant-based, as is a true Mediterranean diet is plant-based. So now that that's taken care of, let's get into why the carnivore diet is a load of crap. There is no population on the face of the earth that lives off of a majority meat-centered diet, and there's a reason why. It's not doable. And here's why. The fact of the matter is, now I'm not against supplementing, and I agree with supplementing, but what you need to understand is this. Even people like the Eskimos that eat it's a meat-centered diet, but it's not 100% meat. The reason why you can't eat a 100% meat diet essentially is because you are not made to. The humans are meant to eat low on the food chain, as we know through scientific observations. So what it is with the Eskimos, when they have to eat mostly meat, they do develop numerous health concerns. But the thing is, you can't thrive on a meat-centered diet. There's no advanced civilization that has thrived on a meat-centered diet. Because if you've ever been on an extremely low carbohydrate diet like I have, you start bonking. You start losing it. You start having trouble. I was eating peanuts. I'm choking on them. What do you know? low carb peanuts. No, but you start not being able to concentrate because you don't have the fuel to fuel your brain or your body. Okay, you get shaky, you get grumpy, you get irritable. These are problems that are caused by a low carbohydrate diet. Now, of course, you want to be getting carbs. Now, when you do try to eat a meat-centered diet, you have to eat the whole animal. Okay, people don't like eating the whole animal. People don't like eating thymus glands and brains and all that and liver. And the problem with eating organ meats is the fact that these organ meats are rich in toxins. And even organic organ meats are rich in toxins. There are organic toxins that you don't want to be eating. A lot of toxins are organic. People don't know that. So it's very difficult to get enough nutrient besides protein and fat on a meat-centered diet to live. Now people will say, carbohydrates are not necessary. Your body will convert protein into carbohydrates. I was this dude, okay? So I know all about it. Yes, but that's a very inefficient process, and it's not very good, okay? It doesn't work well, and I know because I've done this. So the fact of the matter is, when you embrace a 100% plant-based diet, which I'm not actually a 100% plant-based diet, and I'm going to explain that. I became a vegetarian for ethical reasons, okay? So some of the supplements I do take have gelatin capsules, which come from beef or pork. And I also take honey, because honey has certain health benefits and also has certain environmental benefits by supporting apiaries and supporting bees and pollination and whatnot. My point is, I do not eat meat, which is, of course, there's health concerns involved with eating meat, but also that's how the meat industry is supported, is buying meat. The small amount of gelatin in my capsules is not supporting the meat industry, okay? The other thing is this. What people don't understand is I follow closer to a 100% plant-based diet than most people that claim to be vegan. My point is that people that are trying to follow a completely meat-centered diet need to look at the fact that nowhere on earth, in a state of nature, does any human group thrive, especially thrive on a meat-centered diet. No group thrives on a meat-centered diet. But if you look at the diets that created modern civilization, they're all vegetable, fruit, and grain and starch-based. Not one is meat-centered. And that's the truth. And that's about all I have to say about this.